Hi, folks. We are going to look at the first pages in this book. We are going to take a look. Preliminary exercises. I am not sure if you can see the entire book, but at least you can see what page I'm on. You don't really need to do exercises for the beginning course. However, if your hands cramp up, are uncomfortable, get tired, some of these may be of use. So I'm just going to quickly talk you through them. These initial exercises are kind of good for working at relaxing. You have tension, you relax it, tension, relax, stretching, making fist, stretching. These can be good for your hands. But you're not going to be it's not like you have to do weightlifting or anything. But if you find your hands are tired or achy, these might help. Okay, how to sit at the piano. This is self-explanatory. You want to look at your elbows and the keys, especially if you're home now, if you've got a keyboard and you're putting it on a desk or a table. Make sure your elbows are not too high or too low, because that's going to make it harder to play. So you'd have to adjust either your seating or the table. And don't get in so far that you're crowded. You want to be, you see the elbow here? It's ever so slightly in front of the middle of his body. You don't want to be jammed up by being too close. Finger numbers. Your thumbs are 1. I've already given you information on this, and I did tell you we would see it in a couple different ways. Both thumbs are 1, the pinkies are 5. So it fans out from the middle. You don't need to worry about this. On an acoustic piano, this is how it works. Most of you are going to have digital pianos. It's interesting, but it's not part of what we're doing. They talk about curving finger here with a ball. You don't want to be too curved. You don't want to be flat. You don't want to be over curved. Somewhere in the middle so you're comfortable. Okay, business stuff. Groups of 2 and 3, 2 and 3. We talked about this. I gave you videos on this and written material. This just goes over that it groups black notes 2 and 3, and it identifies individual notes. So that's important. Now, hopefully you all have this book. It's the Adult All-in-One. If you don't have All-in-One, you're going to be missing a lot, because there are not just songs, but there are exercises, not just physical like these, but actual piano exercises and technique, the exercises, and theory. So hopefully you have this book, or the pages won't correspond and you'll be missing things. All right, isometric things. I can't really hold the book and do this for you, but you can see pressing the hands together, then sort of opening them up so you're pressing the fingertips. This actually is one of the exercises in here that can be really useful. If your hands feel a little weak, this is a good exercise. Massage. What's not to like about massage? If your hands are cramped, just rub them. So it's talking more about fingers here. This is not our nitty-gritty, but this is. Okay. In the book, page 12 is your first playing song. Now, I'm going to point out a couple things. This book uses pink boxes or pink text to point out new and important things. You can see it's not really pink, it's reddish pink. But when you see that, that's highlighting something important. So in this book, you get a graph, the keyboard with the hand. That's one graphic. Then you get a graphic with, this is notation. This is music notes in notation lined up with where they appear on the keys. Little dots there. So the C note lines up with the C, D. That's self-explanatory. Treble clef, that's high notes, that's the right hand. In our class, our right hand's playing in the higher part of the keyboard. So when you come to this, you're going to want to put your hand in this position. Your thumb is going to go on the C. That's the C position. I had talked about that before. Now, I'm going to play you one of the warm-ups, and I'm also going to play you Ode to Joy, but what I can't do is play at the same time I'm showing you the book. I'm holding this out. So I'll point out, this is the rhythm aspect. We have a pitch aspect, that's which note. And we have rhythm, that's how long do we hold it. One count, that's a quarter note, it's black in the middle with a stem. Half note, it's clear in the middle with a stem. This is twice as long as a quarter. So this is going to give you rhythm. And the last song down here, the Ode to Joy, which is the same as Song of Joy, the rhythm here corresponds with the song. Now, I'm going to put the book up here. I'm just going to play one. This is the first exercise on page 12. My hand's in the C position. Now, I'm in the middle. If your hand feels a little uncomfortable with your wrist bent, you can just go up to the next C. It will sound higher, but you're going to find this is probably more comfortable. So, and that's the end of that exercise. There's 2 vertical lines. That's called the double bar. Now, the next page, that's half of it. You will recognize that. So I'm going to flip over page 14 and 15. I call these, they're theory pages, and I call them thinking pages, writing pages, studying pages. This will help you get more familiar with your notes. It's very self-explanatory. They teach the treble clef, and you can practice writing it. You can read about it. You can see where this sign or clef is, how it shows you that note, and you can find all the notes from that. So this is exercises to write or to think through. Now, if you've had piano before and know these, then you don't have to do this. Now we're on page 16, 17. Left hand C position. You've got a graph, you've got the hand on the little keyboard. Then they show you bass clef, it's in pink. This is how it looks in notation and how it corresponds with the keyboard. So on the next page, we have a whole note. There's no stem. These notes have stems. No stem. That's a 4-count note. It's a longer note. So I'm going to play you one example here, and then I'm going to play you orally. And that ends. You might notice I'm playing steady. Now you can go slower, but you don't want to change speed, fast and slow. This is the bottom of 17, orally. That's a 4-count note. The second line is identical. Now, if we flip to 18 and 19, we get the bass clef. Clef means sign. Bass means low. It's a sign that means low notes. This explains that. You can practice writing them. And then this is, again, the thinking pages, the studying pages. You can play through these, but you want to actually study them. Alrighty. I wanted you to go up to page 20, and I'm going to explain this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to do just, yes, one more. So, grand staff. In piano, we have 2 hands playing. Each hand gets a line. That's the grand staff, treble and a bass clef. Now, down the road, you might discover music with 2 treble if both hands are high, or 2 bass. But for this class, this is all it's going to be, right hand, left hand. So here's the keyboard chart with the notation chart. They have little lines. You can line them up and see the C is on the C, the D, the D. 4/4, time signature. Pink box, that's highlight. They explain that. The most important number for us now is the top one, the 4. There are 4 beats to each measure. We can say 4 counts, 4 beats in each measure. And another word for measure, this is measure. Another word for measure is bar. Up to the bar line, that's 1 bar or 1 measure. Next measure, next measure, next measure. So you can read about that. And what happens here, it's still pretty simple playing, but you're seeing more. The left hand has rests. Here is the sign for a whole rest. It's a whole measure of rest. So the time for the left hand is accounted for, but the left hand's, it's ready, but it's not actually playing. Then the right hand rests. Now, obviously, the point of this is to teach you some of the terminology, some of the signs, and to get used to looking at the two. This is a staff, this is a staff. Plural is staves, although you do hear people say staffs. It's staves. There's a word staff that means employees, like the staff, and staff is plural as well as singular, but for piano, these are staves. So I'm going to play this for you, then I'm going to explain the next page. So I'm getting both hands ready. Only the right's going to play, but the left is resting, and I'm going to keep it there. Now, when it rests for such a long time, I can just put it in my lap, but I'm going to keep it ready. So the right hand plays. Now my right hand rests while left hand plays. And I want to show you something. There is a repeat sign at the end. The 2 dots are what makes it repeat. This is our double bar. And you know what? I know I paged through it and I didn't point that out. They don't explain it here. Here we go. Page 13, when we had this rhythm example, that's where they're explaining each of these situations, these examples. I had already explained those to you, bar line, measure, but I didn't mention the double bar. That means it's the end of something. So we have a double bar with the dots. That makes it a repeat. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you these next examples. We have rock along, that's 2 lines. When there's just a single line, we keep going. That's not a full stop. We keep going. Then I'm going to stop and I will play you the next example. After that, we're just going to do one more example. So here is rock along. And you probably can hear the tune is the same in both hands, except it's higher and then lower. Sometimes that happens, often it doesn't, but you can hear that. Now, Mexican hat dance, they introduce a quarter rest. It's a little squiggly thing and it's explained here. It corresponds with a quarter note. It's a 1 count. Now, I'm going to play just the beginning so you can listen. Then I'm going to play the whole thing. Rest. Rest. I said rest because you actually lift off. Because you're resting. The note is resting. It's silent. Now, I'm going to play the whole thing. The melody in each line is similar, but at the end, it's a little different. So at the very end, left hand has this. Then the right hand, that just comes to an end. So we are almost done what we're going to be working on. I'm going to turn to page 24. I am skipping over some of the thinking pages, and you can go over these. But the last playing thing I want to talk about, this is really important, melodic intervals. Interval is a distance between two notes. That's a second. 1, 2. That's a second. Now down the road, you can actually qualify second. You can have different kinds of thirds, but for now, all we need to do is look at seconds and thirds. So this exercise is going to introduce them. They're still writing letter names in to help you, but they will take them away, and you'll notice that. Second, third, second, third. This measure is the same as that measure. So I'm going to just talk about a little bit more of this so I can just put it up and play them. You're going to want to read the pink boxes, dynamic signs, it's how loud or soft, piano, mezzo forte, these are Italian words. So Au clair de la lune is a right-hand melody. You're going to have repeated notes, step, 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 skip. So you're looking for seconds and thirds. That's what's going to appear here. In the left hand, this is a little more challenging. They give you the first note, G, and it skips down. That's a third. You will see that interval up at the top. Skips down, steps up, skips down, steps up, steps up. So step by step, here is melodic intervals. I'm going to put both hands in place. Left hand's going to start by resting. Now, if you have trouble doing it that speed, of course you can go slower. Everything we do, you can always go slower or do a smaller section. But let's talk about what to do if that's hard for you. Instead of doing the whole line, maybe try one measure. And then just stop and assess. How was that? Does that seem like it was right? Did it feel hard? Did it feel easy? Do it again. If it's easy, go on. If it still feels hard, try a little slower. So when something's hard, you do a shorter amount. You don't do the whole thing. Maybe instead of 4 lines, do 1 line. If that's hard, do half of a line. You can go slower. So you can break it down by going slower, doing a shorter amount. Now, we haven't done hands together yet, but when you are playing with 2 hands, you can go back to 1 hand. So let's look at the second one. The middle of the page is the easiest one here. The left hand rested the whole time, so I just put it in my lap. It wasn't going to come in. The last example, Tisket a Tasket, is for the left hand. And when I teach this in the classes, usually I play the whole thing through, the 2 lines. Then I go over 1 line, and sometimes I even break that in half. So why don't I just do that for you? Let's just take the first line. Then let's look at 2 measures. Then you would do that a couple times. If that's hard, just do 1 measure. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to continue with the whole line. and you may need to go to the end of that line and break that down and work on that. We're going to go to the last line, and I'm going to point out measures 1 and 2 are the same. In the line above, 1 and 2 measures were the same as well. But I think most people find this line a little more challenging, so I just wanted to say that. So you're going to have that. Then you're going to have what I call a walk down. You will probably find that much easier. You're probably going to need to work on this. You might do that a couple times and then do both measures and then put it all together. Okay, so I've covered what you need to be working on, and I may upload something before Thursday. It kind of depends. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to make videos to get this material together, because everything I've done has involved a big learning curve for me, as well as when you're in your classes, you've got that learning curve. So that's why I'm actually using my phone to make these videos, because I bought this special camera, but I still haven't had time to figure that out.